Hey guys! Today we're going to be talking about flying units, and the two flying units that I think are the best from each team. Let's get started. So these are all the flying units that are out in the game so far. Flying units are really important to every deck because they are the only cards that will give you a plus 30 support when they are sent to the discard pile. In addition, they are great for mobility. They allow your cards to move around very easily without having to be tapped themselves. Most of them have the ability that when they're sent to the discard pile for an attack, during a support, it'll let you move one of your units around. So after you attack with a unit, if you attack with another unit and mill a flying unit, then you can move that one that attacked to your back row so they can be safe for that turn. In addition, while they're on the field, most of them have the ability to tap themselves to move one of your units around. So if you were to have two flying units on the field, say Sumia and Cherche, you can use Sumia's effect to move one of the cards in your back row to the front to attack, and then Cherche's effect can move her right back. So starting off, we're going to be talking about Cordelia. The level 1 form of her allows you to move things around when she's sent to the discard pile for an attack, and also you can tap her to move something around as well. She sports 30 attack, which is not great, but her ability is what you really use her for. There's a level 2 version of Cordelia as well, but it's from a tournament pack, which is really hard for us to get here in the US. She's okay. She allows you to attack far away by flipping bonds, and also she gains attack if she's the only unit in the area, so in the front or the back, when the turn is over for the next turn. In my opinion, the level 3 Cordelia is the best flying unit on the blue team. Her ability, Gale Force, allows her to attack again after she declares an attack and destroys something by battle. And that's not even a class change ability. So you can easily play her, get over one of your opponent's weak cards, and then declare an attack on maybe their strong main character or just another of the weak card. This allows you to just wreck their field in one turn, and her class change ability allows you to give flying units range. So herself and all flying units, after you flip one bond, can attack far away that turn. They gain the range of 1 or 2. So this is great, since flying units usually don't even have range. This, in a flying deck, is essential because it allows you to attack far away. So in any blue deck, no matter what, I think you should be using 4 copies of the level 1 Cordelia and 4 copies of the level 3 Cordelia. Now next up is Jerome. Now I've been seeing this guy pop up in tournament deck lists a lot lately. Any deck that can run blue cards use Jerome nowadays because his class change form allows him to do extra damage to sword people whenever he is attacked or attacks. So level 2 Jerome is not that great. He increases his attack by 10 when you have his mom and him on the field, so both of them would gain 10. He's not good because he's a level 2. So even though his attack is stronger than usual flyers, he does not have a support ability, and his ability just isn't that great. Level 4 Jerome is great, however, so being a level 4, it's harder for you to get him out, but once you get him out, he's pretty much gonna be a base 80 attack against most of your opponent's cards, since most cards in the game right now are sword units. Being 80 whenever you battle a sword person pretty much guarantees that you're going to win the battle no matter what. And against an Indigo deck, for those who are having trouble dealing with their friends' Indigo decks, playing this card and having it on your front row is great because Indigo decks pretty much can't get over this in a deck full of flyers. So if you have this guy on the field and a deck full of flyers, which is what blue decks usually have, that Indigo deck is going to have a really hard time getting over him and getting that boost. So in the end, I don't think you should be using any copies of the level 2 unless you have a lot of room in your deck and don't know what to put in. But for the level 4 Jerome, you should definitely be using 4 copies of him in any deck you can squeeze him in. He's great against Indigo decks, which is why I think he's seeing so much play in the metagame right now. So now we're moving over to the red team. So we're going to be talking about Minerva. The level 1 version allows her to gain 10 whenever you have 2 or more flying units, excluding herself, on the field. So pretty much that ability is not too great. She's mainly used for the main character of a flying unit deck. She allows flying units to even be a deck, and that's why I think she's one of the better of the flying units in the red team. She's not very strong, but like other flying units, her support ability allows you to move cards around when she's sent to the discard pile for a support. The level 4 version of her has a great effect which allows you to use flying unit decks. So her ability gives her plus 10 for every other flying unit on the field, so it allows her to be a main character pretty much. So her second ability protects your flying units from archers. So this is essential if you want to make a deck that's completely flying units, because that deck's going to have an inherent weakness against archers. So the only reason I think she's good is because of that effect. The ability to make a deck around a type that would not be possible without her. However, overall, I would not use her in a red deck unless you're making a flying unit deck. So I would not use any level 1s unless you're using a flying unit deck, and I would not use any level 4s. But if you were to make a deck around her, I would use 2 level 1s, maybe 3 level 1s, and definitely 4 level 4s since she will be your main character. So let's take a break. Thanks for watching so far. This is a code for the Fire Emblem Fates game. I have a lot of these codes, so I'm going to randomly give these out throughout my videos. If you're the first person to watch it, here's your code. If you don't need it, please don't enter it, and then let anyone else afterwards get this code. So if you're like the 5th person watching, maybe you should still give it a try, because maybe the people who watched it before you didn't need it. Enjoy. And lastly, we're going to be talking about Caeda. So level 1 Caeda has a support ability that allows you to move things around when she's sent to the discard pile as a support, like most flying units. She's unique, however, because she allows you to tap her and one other unit to make another unit gain 10 attack. So she's the only flying unit that allows you to boost cards' attacks. She's weak, having a base 30 attack, but you're only going to use her mainly for that boosting effect. And then there's level 2 Caeda, which is actually really useful in my opinion. So she does extra damage to armored units and horse units, and also you can tap her to move one of your units around. This is the only card in the red deck that allows you to move cards around that way, and that's why I think she's so good. And now this is what I think to be the best card in the game overall. So level 4 Caeda is special because she's the only card in this game that allows you to search a card through your deck, and the cost is ridiculously low for how good this effect is. So whenever she destroys something by battle, you can flip one bond to search. It's not even a preemptive effect. You flip a bond after you destroy something by battle, being a trigger effect. So you don't have to worry about flipping a bond and then hoping you destroy something by battle, like Merrick. Her second ability allows you to move her before you declare the attack, which is good, because usually your level 1 Caeda will be in the back row. So after you class change her, you can move her to the front with a second ability, kill something, and then get a search out of it. Her base 60 attack is one of the strongest for any flying unit and is equal to Jerome's. I would definitely use 4 of her in any deck that can use her. So I think the blue deck overall has better flyers than the red deck. Cherche and Sumia are usable cards. They're great. You would actually use them in decks. Cordelia's effect is great. I would definitely use 4 of each of her in any deck. Both copies of her. You can also use 2 copies of the level 2 version if you really want to, and you can get your hands on them. The level 4 Jerome, I would definitely use 4 copies of him. Level 2 Jerome, I wouldn't use any of him, but that's how I would use them in any lineup. So I'd use pretty much max out Cordelia in any deck I can use her in. On the other hand, the red team does not have many good flyers. Palla, Catria, and East are not great flyers in my opinion. Their triangle attack is really hard to pull off even with their effects, and they're just not worth going through all that trouble to get them on the field. They take up a lot of deck room because you can't run other cards when they're in the deck because you have to use all 3 sisters. And same thing for Minerva. You wouldn't use her in red decks that aren't based on flying units. Pretty much you would only use her if she's your main character in my opinion. So which leaves Caeda. I think Caeda is the best flying unit in the game, and she's the only good flying unit in my opinion on the red team that you would use in any deck. So the level 1 Caeda, from testing, I have realized that she is not as good as the level 2s. The red deck lacks mobility. Most of the cards can't move around after you place them on the board because you don't have the flying units tapped to move ability. So instead of relying on milling a Caeda when you're declaring the attack to move something around, I think it's better to use the level 2 Caeda. She's stronger, she does damage to horse and, mounted and armored units, and you can tap her to move things around, and that's why I think she's a lot better than the level 1 form. Although, really, you can use either of them, because they're both pretty good. As for level 4 Caeda, I would definitely use 4 copies of her in any deck that I could use her in that has enough red cards that warrants using her. So in a Marth deck, I definitely use 4. In an Ogma deck that's pure red, I would definitely use 4. Any pure red deck, you would definitely use 4 of it. So I think if you can get your hands on her, and if you're considering making any decks with red cards in them, you should definitely get your hands on them right now. So for anyone who's interested in playing a blue deck, I definitely think you should get 4 copies of Jerome whenever you can. It's not even that expensive right now. They're going for about $4, I think, on eBay and some other card websites. But he's super good in any blue deck, and he's super easy to play out, get out, and he's 30 support. You don't even need a class change him to get that great effect, and he's really good against Inigo decks and other sword-based decks, which I can see is pretty much most decks in the future anyways. Cordelia, on the other hand, she's expensive. She's like $27 to $30 on the internet. So if you can get your hands on her, definitely do it, but if you can't, having 2 copies of her is okay. Caeda, I think, is the best red unit, and that you're going to use her in any red deck in the future. So I definitely think you need 4 copies of her if you're running any decks that can run a lot of red cards. So any pure red decks, I think you should definitely use 4 copies of her, and I can definitely see her getting more expensive in the future after more sets come out. So yeah, what do you guys think? Which is your favorite flyer out of these 3? Leave a comment below, and thank you for watching. Pip-pip-piddly-doo, I gotta poo. I'll see you guys next time.